are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
This is Kier Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.
Good afternoon. This is Tony Rogers, your host for Urbanology, The Art of War. I hope all is well with you. We are, it's an interesting time that we find ourselves in. Weather, politics, and all of those things are going to be new. Matter of fact, we have a new year coming in. But all things are good. There's an old Taoist saying that everything is beneficial. You just have to look for the positive. And today, I am really honored to have a good friend, a person who has been doing a number of wonderful things. As my first guest, Rev Dillon, who is again doing his wonderful conference, the ReSurgence conference, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I also have, at the second part of the show, two individuals that I have recently met, but the work that they're doing has captivated me and will captivate you because it's a whole new way of addressing the healthcare system and telemedicine and doing things that are really going to be a way of medicine, change the way medicine is diagnosed as well as how treatments take place. So I would like to now bring on my good friend and one of the hardest working guys I know, Reverend Dennis Dillon. How are you doing?
I'm very, very well, Tony. It is such a pleasure to be with you. I just love the concept urbanology. So I'm delighted. I'm excited, and I know you're just coming back from the motherland.
Yes.
So blessings on you, sir. Really, really good to be with you.
Well, I know you're no stranger from South Africa. You were married there, and and you went there and got captivated by a beautiful woman, and that's another story. But you know what it's like. But I know that your time, because you have so many things that are happening. Tell the viewers and listeners a little bit about what's going to be coming up in a couple of days.
Yeah, indeed. The ReSurgence Conference, we're excited about this installation of it. This, as you know, Tony, grew out of the Black Church Men's Business Conference, the first one held back in 1994, when I called together some of the clergy leaders from around the city, the likes of the late Dr. Preston Washington from HCCI at the time, and Memorial Baptist Church in Harlem, and the Reverend Dr. Floyd H. Flake, who was then a congressman in Jamaica, Queens. There was the Reverend Dr. William Augustus Jones, and just a host of others. And we started this ReSurgence movement back then that was literally called the Black Church Men's Business. And it was really that kind of sparked this energy and this move. And now we're excited to transform this into this new post-COVID idea of the resurgence of Black businesses, Black churches, Black life, Black energy, how we move the needle forward for Blacks in a time when we're at the bottom of all things economics. That's our thrust, that's our focus, and that's our commitment. So we look forward to being in Queens this year. Last year we were in Harlem. The year before, and the year before that, we were in Brooklyn. So now we are looking forward to being in Queens this weekend for the ReSurgence Conference.
And Reverend Dillon, exactly where in Queens? We're going to do it again, but give the exact address.
Yeah, so the conference is in Rochdale Village. It's a huge community. I didn't realize just a few minutes away from JFK Airport that they had this huge grand ballroom and all of this convention space in the facility. So that's where we're going to be. It's on 137th Avenue. And of course, those who want to get more information and get more details as to the exact location can certainly do so by going to the resurgenceconference.com website. So that's where we're going to be November 22nd through the 24th. We're looking forward to a great experience. Our theme this year is a thicker slice of the economic pie. And we've been cutting too thin a slice to the degree that our slice is almost unmeasurable in almost every category. And so the passion is for us to really get out there and look at a thicker slice.
And I suppose, based on our recent elections, the tone might have changed a little bit as it relates to the need to have conferences like this so that people can come together without understanding what's going to happen. Not to say it's a issue that we have to all become really concerned about, even though we might have to, but it's something that I'm sure will have an interesting tone as far as the presenters this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that we have to do, and I always like to go back to the scripture as a preacher, and the Bible talks about a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. And essentially what that means is someone who is not connected to our community, not engaged in the challenges and the struggle, given how Blacks have in these United States of America moved from a place of enslavement, lacking the capacity to own anything, criminalized just to educate ourselves. Just imagine, it was a criminal act at one point in America, or close to being a criminal act, because certainly those who seek to educate blacks at some point in our enslaved history could be jailed for such things. And so we're coming from that place to where we are today. So I'm seeing the journey ahead with the new administration at the very worst case scenario as a Pharaoh that knew not Joseph. And interestingly enough, it turned out to be a positive outcome, because it drove a people to free themselves, to empower themselves, to develop for themselves, to own for themselves. And so I do believe that this resurgence now, when we're bringing together all of these dynamic men and women, so we could advance the conversation around increasing home ownership, lowest for blacks in America for the past maybe 12, 13 years since the New York Christian Times been doing the study on it. At one point, there were whites, then blacks, then Asians and Latinos. Now it is whites, it's then Asians, it's Latinos and blacks. So we are at the very bottom of the economic scale when it comes to home ownership. So we're going to talk about first-time home buying, how we increase that. Then the wealth gap has been tremendous. At one point, again, in America, it was whites, then blacks, then Latinos, then Asians. Now it's Asians, then whites. I mean, then Latinos, and then blacks in most cases, and in some category blacks, then Latinos. So how do we really begin to increase home ownership? The third area of focus for us with the conference this year is business growth, business ownership, business development, and how do we really begin to scale black businesses and move black businesses to the next level. Again, here goes some startling statistics. Asians are about 6 to 7% of the U.S. population, but 28% of Asians own businesses in America. Flip that to blacks being 14% of the population, but less than a half of 1% of blacks own businesses with employees in America. So these are just some startling statistics and some challenging numbers. All, by the way, folks can find in the Economic State of the Black World report that they can also get online. And we're going to talk about this at the conference as well, as to how do we move to turn these numbers around for blacks in America. And I think we have a time right now when we really have to deal with the journey to rise economically and understand that we have to do for self more. We got to rise from what I call the GDS, government dependency syndrome. We have to rise from what I call shopping spending disorder, or SSD. These are just some of the trends that we have to break if we're going to move the needle forward, all of which we're going to talk about at the ReSurgence conference in Rochdale Village in Queens this year.
Who are some of the speakers that you have lined up this year?
Yeah, look forward to a powerful, dynamic panel of speakers and presenters, the likes of our own, Harlem girl, born, budded, and bred in Harlem. Melba Wilson, who was with us, by the way, in Durban, South Africa earlier this year for the Durban leg of the ReSurgence conference. We're bringing in again, just because, of his legacy and his legendary work over the years, the author of the best-selling New York Times, many New York Times bestseller, but particularly I want to talk about Success Runs in Our Race. Dr. George Fraser, he'll be there. Clayton Banks, President, CEO for Silicon Harlem will be there. Of course, the president CEO of HCCI, Dr. Malcolm Punter, who was also with us in Durban, South Africa earlier this year. Attorney Joe Holland, another Harlemite. So it's just a lot of great men and women. We're grateful to our host, Senator James Sanders, the resident senator in the district in which the conference will be held, also one who was with us in Durban, South Africa earlier this year, and just some other dynamic folks. Dr. Wendy Mohammed from the Nation of Islam, who've helped with a lot of the economic development initiative around the nation, will be coming in from Chicago to be with us. Bishop Dr. John Ray Youngblood, that's hosting certain elements of the conference with us this year, our good friend right across the street from Rochdale Village, the pastor of New Jerusalem Worship Center, Dr. Bishop Calvin Rice. It's a powerful group of men and women that are serious about how we move the needle forward.
Now, what are the times of the conference? It starts on the 22nd. What's the time frame for that?
So the conference starts on the 22nd. 9:30 a.m. will be the kickoff. The first plenary session will take place then. We will journey through the day. I'm excited, Tony, because not only will you be there and speak in the evening as well, but in the evening we're doing what we call an African America's Global Business Roundtable. So there'll be a whole conversation, and we're going to culminate that with an awards reception, and we're honoring a number of individuals, but two of the legendary honorees that I certainly want to highlight will be a Lifetime Achievement Award to Reverend Dr. Herbert Daughtry, the illustrious pastor and leader. We call him the People's Pastor. That's from true. House of the Lord Church, not just in Brooklyn, but certainly the national body that he has led for many, many years before his amazing daughter took the realm of the organization, and his wonderful and vivacious wife, Dr. Karen Daughtry, took the helm of the House of the Lord Church in Brooklyn. And we're also honoring Dr. Ron Daniels, the president and CEO for the Institute for the Black World 21st Century, and one of the leading advocates and movers and shakers around the reparation movement here in the U.S. and globally. So they're among just the dynamic lineup of men and women that we're going to honor that evening. Saturday, 9:30 to 5 p.m. I'm excited about Sunday in particular because we want to bring hope to our people growing out of, again, an election that a lot of us were disappointed by and it boggles the mind sometimes to understand some of the challenges and the circumstances that shapes modern politics in the United States. But Black folks should never be overly surprised, just given the challenges and struggles that we've had just about all of our years in the United States of America.
Now, Reverend, and because I know you have a short time period, question, I know you have exhibitors. Is it too late for people to try to become exhibitors? And also, can you join using the website, or how can people get involved, whether participants as far as spectators or exhibitors? Is that something that is still open?
Yeah, there's not a lot of space left, but we probably can accommodate one or two other exhibitors. And I think the best way for them to link with us is to utilize, again, the website, which is on our screen, resurgenceconference.org or even .com. Either would work. Resurgenceconference.org or resurgenceconference.com. They can go to the website. Certainly, because exhibit space is really, really tight, I would certainly advise that they could call the office right away. 718-638-6397 would be the number to call. And I certainly, Tony, want to also point out that we have a special story in the New York Christian Times this weekend as well, about Medlink and the Medpod revolutionary technology, which I've kind of researched a little bit and read about. We're excited that they're going to be present as well, and we encourage folks. And that's why this conference is so multifaceted, because there'll be many seniors, but Sunday it's going to be huge with young people. We have a youth marching band, one of the best in the country, that's going to be participating. The Brooklyn United, they have been on HBO, they have been in a lot of other settings. They're going to be there. And of course, Coach Tyrone Brown, that leads the band, is also organizing a youth entrepreneurship summit that will also take place after a dynamic worship on Sunday. And there's going to be a complimentary brunch, free full service brunch, 10:30 a.m., then worship, then the marching band, the music, a fashion show.
You're going out with a bang.
It's going to be exciting on Sunday, the 24th. So we're excited about it all.
Well, Reverend Dillon, I appreciate you taking time, because of all of this going on, all of these moving parts, I know your phone is ringing off the hook. I know that people are trying to grab you all different types of ways. So giving us this preview is great. We're going to also post this on the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce website, as well as our YouTubes and everything else, to give people an understanding of how important it is going to be. And as all good reverends do, you did a wonderful segue into our next guest, because one of the things that's important also, and that we have to work on, is our health. Because as I cough, health and wealth are two major issues that have to be addressed. And I know that it's important to you, as well as most of the people who are looking at this, is to make sure that we have the best access to healthcare that we can have. And that's not always been the case, as you know. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Tony. It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you, Mr. McCoy, Matt McCoy, for your leadership and your work at Soul City, and to everyone, God bless you all and have an awesome day.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the 22nd. And there's some questions. I'm going to try to get into that call line, because there are some things I want to talk to you about before the 22nd, but I know I got to wait until that to my turn. Thank you,
Bless
Reverend.
You, sir. Bless you. Have an awesome day. Stay well.
All right, and I appreciate your time. Bless and you. As Reverend indicated, there's going to be a number of opportunities to have there's going to be an expo, and I mentioned at the top of the show that I have been introduced to a technology that is a game changer, and it will be as we start to look at not only what's happening in urban areas, but just coming from Ghana and coming from rural areas where healthcare has its limitations. There is a new technology that will allow for people, if they're not close to a hospital, to at least have access not only to top rate physicians, but those physicians will have real time access to the vitals of those individuals they're talking to. And the two people who are heading that wonderful technology that will have a grand opening in February, but a soft opening December 18th and 19th in Harlem. I'd like to bring on Jack Towle and Ed Miller. Hey, Jack. How are you doing? And
Thanks,
this is Jack Towle, who's the CEO of the Medpod technology, who is no stranger to telemedicine, who actually is the pioneer in telemedicine and has done a little bit of work. And I'm going to, and of course, Ed Miller, who we talked about ACCI. The more I talk to Ed Miller, the more he may even be my cousin because he knows everybody that I know. But Jack, you first, just briefly give, because it'll take a whole show to talk about what you've done, but just briefly give us your experience with telemedicine and how you came up with the Medpod technology.
Perfect. Thank you, Tony. So just the background, transplant into healthcare. I actually didn't start in healthcare. I started in large retail programs. And my crossover was Walmart. So I was the one who went to Walmart with the concept of actually opening up clinics within their stores to be able to create access points for healthcare access. And during that journey, as I was building up those clinics, we were faced with challenges. Not enough doctors physically in the locations that we're opening. And we're opening up in locations that were really underserved in Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. And we were trying to figure out how do we bring doctors in remotely into the clinic from their offices. And so we actually laid fiber in the ground in 2004 and 5 and 6 and stood up the first direct-to-patient telemedicine network we believe in the country. That certainly IP-based network. It was the first in the country and maybe the world. And then we started to deliver care with our nurse practitioners, physically with the patients, and with the doctors and specialists on the remote side.
Well, that's amazing, Jack. I mean, Ed, tell us how you connected with Jack and what you're doing in I guess my hometown, since I was raised there for a long period of time in South Carolina.
Bringing you greetings from Maysville, South Carolina, home of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. My wife is the great-grandniece of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and you have a Mary McLeod Bethune school there in Harlem on 134th Street.
Yes, we do.
And my wife is also the former mayor of Maysville, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So maybe one of these days we get you guys down here and let you see the museum and the work that she's accomplished in South Carolina, to include a South Carolina license plate that have the portrait of Dr. Bethune that hangs in the South Carolina State House on the license plate that's owned by Twin City Outreach Mission. But today we're looking for, Reverend Dr. Dillon said, a larger slice of the pie. I like that philosophy.
As a matter of fact, your wife, if I'm not mistaken, is a City College graduate. Is that correct?
He is a City College graduate. That's absolutely.
Okay. I had to push that in.
Absolutely. But I am one of the co-founders of HCCI, Harlem Churches for Community Improvements. We Y.T. Walker, Preston Washington, Gardner C. Taylor, you'll name them. Butts and many others. We actually went to Floyd Flake, Congressman Flake. He had the Nehemiah plan, and we used the Nehemiah plan, came back to Harlem and created HCCI, which if you on 145th Street there at Lenox Avenue and go up to Bradhurst, make a right turn, go up 155th Street and come back down and come all the way back down to Lenox. That's the area that we started with. Mm-hmm. I'm also the founder of South Carolina Heating Fuel. You see those oil trucks running through Harlem. I established that company in '84 along with Gloria Dantzler. And it's being still there and being ran by Natasha Dantzler. She's there at Mount Nebo Baptist Church there in Harlem. Because I used to be the chairman of the trustee board there at Mount Nebo with Johnny Green, who we work with, Jack and I, very closely on this product. I'm also the chairman of South Carolina Department of Disabilities and Special Needs for the state of South Carolina. And that led us to be able to deal with the IDD population, so forth and so on. But Jack and I been moving around and working on this project for quite some time now. And we said to each other, and I said to Jack, we need to bring a new way of access to healthcare to Harlem and the rest of the world. And he agreed. And here we are, waiting, ready, and willing to do whatever is necessary to make that a reality. And I am the marketing and promotion entity for pushing out MediLink driven by Medpod. So with that, I'm going to give back the balance of my time to none other than Jack Towell. Go ahead, Jack.
So tell us about Medpod, Jack, and the amazing capabilities that this technology has.
Sure. So first, we're opening up a clinic physically in Harlem at 145th Street and Malcolm X Boulevard. It's called MediLink. It's powered by Medpod, so it's all Medpod technology inside of that clinic. It's the first clinic that Medpod is directly involved in. All others, there's hundreds of them around the world at this point, but it's all that we sell our technology to other operators, other hospital systems and doctors and so on. And we've learned so much that we said we actually want to get involved directly. And what better place to start than in Harlem? So we built out the physical location. It has all the equipment in there. We're looking forward to opening it up to show on the 18th of December and the 19th for patients to actually come through and see what we're doing, and then a grand opening January 30th, leading into the whole month of February. So Medpod, and I'll show you a couple of videos, but Medpod essentially uses technology and proprietary hardware that we've engineered, we've built, and much of it is patented, to be able to have a remote physician, any level of provider on the other side. It could be a primary care, it could be a specialist, cardiologist, pulmonologist, and so on, to be able to come in remotely into the physical location through our technology. And the patient is interacting with a care facilitator. It's a new type of individual that we've coined the term care facilitator. It's people from within the community that will work with the patient as the hands of the remote provider. They will operate the equipment. They will work again with the patient and that remote provider as part of a care team. And the doctor could see everything as if he was physically in the room with the patient, use the equipment, do a full examination. And our doctors actually report that they could diagnose and treat a patient better than if they were physically standing in the room with them. We capture all the information. We capture their vitals. We capture the images. If it's looking in the ear, you could see it at the same time as the doctor could see it. You could see if there's an infection. He could point out, or she could point out what the issue is. You could record information as far as dermatology, or even eye, and record that information. We can listen to your heart, your lungs, your belly sounds, record those sounds, create a baseline. And that's something that we believe in, is going to change the way that healthcare is delivered, is consistently recording a baseline of a patient, getting to know you as a patient. And then when you come in for subsequent visits, we could see if you've deviated from your norm. Everybody's norm is different. It's not always, are you 120 over 80 or 110 over 75 or whatever the current number is. But what is your norm, let's say, for blood pressure? And as long as we know that, we could actually track the deviations and then get in there and have proactive medicine.
And the unique thing about this is that you can do all of that in something that looks like a carry-on. And I understand at some point it can also look like a backpack. I know that you had a short video just to show what that looks like. If you might want to just, because I know people are trying to figure out what are these guys talking about. So if you can, why don't you show us what the Medpod machine and how it unpacks and works, just so that the people can understand the uniqueness of what we're talking about.
Sure. Could you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So I'll show you. This is a video of one of our Medpod mobile docks in operation. This happens to be shot in Africa. But again, we're using this in starting in the community in Harlem, where you could come in physically into our location and actually be seen and use what we call our inbound patient applications, our carts and things like that. Or we could physically come out to you, come to your home, your apartment, a shelter, wherever it may be, and literally deliver the same level of care. So this is one of our customers using the Medpod equipment.
Some of us are lucky. If we're in need of healthcare services, we have several options to choose from. We can go to our local clinic and a physician will ask us questions, do a physical assessment, and diagnose our ailments. But for much of the world, this is not the case. As you venture further away from larger cities, healthcare becomes more challenging. Seeing a doctor can be virtually impossible, and the nearest doctor is a day or more away. Even if you're blessed with good insurance, you may be forced to travel to a major city to have a physician visit. But welcome to the future. Through a partnership with DMC Hospital and ArcPoint Labs, we are reimagining rural healthcare. This device will allow a doctor to attend to a patient from anywhere. We are set on a mission to provide equal care to everyone in the world, regardless of who you are and where you live. Let's reimagine the doctor's office visit. Let's reimagine rural healthcare. Let's reimagine diagnostics. Welcome to the future.
Which is amazing. And the machine that you saw folds down into a carry-on, which means that it can go any place. Now, I know I asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it again. What about places in rural areas that the electricity may not be good or the internet may not be good? How do you deal with those challenges?
So we just had a very interesting one happened a couple of weeks ago where Medpod was taken out to Malaysia and really into rural Malaysia. And they ran together with a local 5G cellular network, literally in a carry-on together with Medpod, so a little bit larger than the Medpod mobile dock unit. And so they literally came in with their battery packs, with their solar charging capabilities. And they stood up a cellular network on spot within that village. And then they turned on the Medpod and essentially worked. They used the Starlink network as a backhaul, so they were able to have a full processing of, cell phone calls could go through. Medpod could run on it, and I'm sure you could do many other things on that network as well. So
it means that any place in the world that needs to have some sort of device or a way to speak to a doctor, this challenge can address those issues. Which
100%. That was a partnership of Intel. Intel is one of our partner companies, and they sponsored it together with a company called Amdocs to say, look, we have an issue. Let's see if we could solve a problem where they don't have any type of internet service, they don't have electricity in the area, and they don't have medicine, right? And so they actually proved it. They then donated that unit, as they've done many times before. Intel has actually donated many units to inner city. One of them was in Brooklyn, Minnesota, where they helped solve healthcare disparities and create access points.
What part of Africa was that you were showing in your clip?
I didn't shoot that, so I can't tell you accurately where it was.
It would be interesting to know. A couple of more things. One, we were talking about the ability to deal with cancer in a preventive mode. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because that's an important issue.
Yeah, so I mean, one of our partner companies, Staywell 365, essentially brought us a technology that's it's called Cancer Check Labs, where they're doing the equivalent of a dialysis of the blood and actually picking up circulating tumor cells, and then they're plating those tumor cells as if the doctor would have done a biopsy. So with that technology. There's no guessing, meaning once they pull out that cancer cell and plate it, they could 100% identify which cancer we're dealing with, and they're picking up on cancers at stage 0. And so that's a company that we're working with very closely, looking to bring that out. There are some regulatory challenges in New York specifically that's actually holding it back. It's available in other parts of the country, but New York has some archaic, regulatory issues to get through, but we're pushing, and of course, as everyone hears about it, right, we're hoping that we actually can break through some of those roadblocks for New York citizens.
And I know on the 18th we've invited a number of state senators within the area, especially in New York, Al Taylor and some others. So obviously, we'll have to put that in our conversation with them, either at that time or at a later time. The other thing,
it's picking up on cancers that people don't know they have. Lung cancer, for example, which is hard to detect in its early stages. And there's actually an organization's been funded that if you're a firefighter, it's free. The test is free. And we're trying to get other organizations to get behind it for other at-risk workers as well.
There are a couple of things we're going to do another show before the opening because there's so many different things. One is insurance. What type of insurance do you? If someone wants to come into the clinic on 144th Street, what type of insurance would they have to have in order to take advantage of your facility?
So we take Medicare, we take Medicaid, we take a bunch of the managed Medicaid plans as well. We're probably up to about 8 or 9 of the managed Medicare plans, managed Medicaid plans, and then the commercial insurance, a good portion of them. There's a couple that are still holdouts, but we take, I would say 85 or 90% of the insurances that are out there. We take 1199 and others as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's another story. There's so many different stories. There was another story that you talked about, which dealt with a project that you had with the state dealing with nursing homes, and how you were able to save a great deal of money in the nursing homes over a period of time because you prevented them to have to take their patients to the emergency room.
Yeah, it was actually group homes for the intellectually and developmentally disabled. And that's how I actually met Ed originally. And this is good 6-7 years ago, in that we were working in that population. We are a New York based company. So we started with the state using BIP innovation funds to figure out how do we actually solve a big problem for the state, which was runaway costs on nights and weekends related to the delivery of care for the intellectually and developmentally disabled. And what was happening was that on nights and weekends, they're living in group homes, 5 or 6 individuals living there. There's always an attendant, but there's no medical staff physically on site. Mm-hmm. And if something goes wrong on a night and weekend, their doctors are not available. Their only option is to call 911 and transport that patient to the emergency room. At that point, you have the cost associated with the transport and the emergency room visit, a couple $1,000s right away. And then 50% of that population was actually getting admitted because many times they're nonverbal, right? So you don't know what's bothering them. Mm-hmm. So they would put them through a battery of tests and so on, another $15,000 cost to the state of New York. And so we were brought in to say, how do you disrupt that normal care pathway? And what we did was we guaranteed that we would be able to respond within less time than it would take to see that patient in for a non-emergency situation in the emergency room. And so we would dispatch mobile doc units, or the unit that you just saw, together with an RN in that particular program. They would go into the group homes, but that would be based on a triage that we would do. They would call, instead of calling 911, they would call a different number. We would make sure that this was non-emergency dispatch. If it was emergency, we would call 911 as well. And then we would send in that nurse with the mobile doc unit. We would bring their doctor up on the screen, not some random doctor that didn't know them, but it was actually their doctor. Their doctors all, agreed to work with us and come in for 5 or 10 minutes if they were needed on a night or weekend. They were happy to do it. And they were able to have full diagnostic capabilities. And that program resulted in a case study. It resulted in 86% reduction in hospitalizations. Major cost savings to the state of New York was actually a 10-time return on investment within 6.5 months, and not even a year, less than a year, 10-time return on investment. So they actually used our case study to change the law and made it mandatory to be able to access this type of care for the IGD population in group homes. And so very, very successful program, which we could also roll out for others, again, in nursing homes, frail elderly, sick and shut in. And this is a great program for the sick and shut in. I mean, that's something that we believe very strongly about.
Now, I also was reading about how some of your work and comments influenced the Obama administration and some of their legislation and language.
Yeah, I mean, one of my original speeches going back into 2005 and 6 timeframe became the basis for the not-for-profit DASIA. And DASIA is what they modeled the Health Information Exchange Act on, written into law by President Obama in 2009. So how do you bring together silo data sets of healthcare data so we get smarter, right? So that we actually could understand the patient and provide better care. And that really became the basis for all of the, what today there's something called FHIR, the FHIR protocol. So that was almost the grandfather of FHIR, going back on how do you bring all this data together. Medpod actually brings what we call high fidelity data signals together, unlike any other system that's out there, so that we could hear better, we could see better, and we could use that for the basis for AI of the next generation, right? So where we could actually assist the doctors in diagnosing and treating patients and giving them a little bit of advice as they're going along and looking at things that maybe they were not familiar with.
Well, I always in our sessions, and I have a question for both of you gentlemen. Where do you see yourselves, let's say, a year to 2 years from now, as far as what you would like to be or what you would think that you're going to be?
Well, I'd say first, the operating Harlem Clinic, right? That's the first one that we would like to get open and serving the community. But I want to be clear that it's not just that they're coming physically into us. We want to be able to go out to them and deal with that sick and shut in. And every church has the list. I've traveled around the country and sat with many pastors, and they all have their list, right? And they all have issues of people that didn't come out since COVID for whatever reason. So we want to start addressing that crisis. We want to get from a global basis. We want to actually really eliminate healthcare access issues and completely obliterate the disparities. And I'll just share one quick statement. I know we're running out of time, but getting rid of disparities. We have a doctor that's with us every single Thursday. They'll be available to patients coming into the Harlem Clinic that takes care of some of the most senior people in our current administration, working, in the White House and extremely senior. And that'll be the same doctor that will be available to anyone that walks off the street in the Harlem Clinic.
I'm going to sign myself up for a Thursday. That's going to be on my list of things to do. Matter of fact, I'm going to take a unit to Ghana the next year. I'm gonna. Yeah,
we know the doctor's busy on January 21st because he's given the outgoing individual a full checkup, a full baseline after he's no longer in office. But anytime after the 21st.
Well, you're going to be January. There for a minute. You're going to be in Harlem for a minute, so I can I don't mind stepping aside for the outgoing individual. I think that's my role as a patriot. But nevertheless, Ed, Jack, I really can't express my gratitude for you guys bringing this technology to Harlem. It's my pleasure of being able to be a part of the team that will help allow for people to know what uh, you're doing and how they can be involved with it, and to make sure that if nothing else, the only problem that you have is that how we're going to deal with all of these people that's trying to get in and get tests. So you might have to expand. That's the goal, is to make sure that the MedLink powered by Medpod starts to grow.
The goal is to build out that facility today to be the size of a block, and we're working with the landlord over there, Coal Town Group, which is opened up to say, if we need to expand to 16 or 18 exam rooms, we have the ability to do that. If we need to build a restaurant to serve food to the population, we're happy to do that. We're already doing food pantries every weekend, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so there's a great support system with the landlord there as well.
Well, again, and give the exact address of where the clinic will be again.
Yeah, it's 685 Malcolm X Boulevard.
That's between 144th and 145th Street, Malcolm X Boulevard.
Let me just add this, Tony. We are appreciative for partnering with Harlem Chamber and Harlem Tourism. I spent 20-something years there in the city, and one thing that I do know, if you don't know certain folks in Harlem, you might as well drive through and keep going.
Don't forget to mention our global ambassador,
Bobby Hunter.
Bobby
Zorro Hunter. He's the patriarch for the retired Harlem Globetrotters. He is a partner in this adventure, and we look forward to continuing to improve better access to health care. And know that we are also open to churches, forming a partnership with them, smaller clinics, so we can do these things as well and serve the people and the population.
Well, as they say, timing is everything, and the timing is that Rev Dillon has graciously allowed for you guys to have an exhibit, and you're going to have more churches than heaven.
That's a good. We can deal with that.
So, again, thank you so much for your time. We will have another show. We have to just figure out the timing for everybody before our opening, just so that people can be aware of this. But I'm going to make sure that each of you have a copy of this so that you can send it to whoever you might need to send it to, as well as we will make sure that it's posted on our sites.
And the next show we'll actually do a baseline of you live.
That would be that's interesting.
With your doctor.
Or you could have the doctor that I mentioned that's taking care of the administration.
We'll do it that way. Now we talk.
Well, that's exciting and scary. I hope you don't find something.
Well, I'm sure you're going to be in better shape, at least from a stress level, than the guy he's examining on the 21st.
I'm pretty sure I will be too. So, nevertheless, he will. If he can deal with him, I'm sure that I will be, peanuts. Jack, Ed, thank you. I know that this is a busy time, but and we'll be back. But thank you again for the things that you're doing. I look forward to a long relationship with you guys. And of course, December 18th, December 19th, you can pick up the Christian Times. There's a wonderful article, which is out now. And Harlem Community News will have an article, which is the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Harlem, 2 weeks before the event. So you'll get information about it. We'll post it. We'll do social media. we want as many people to know about what's happening on December the 18th and 19th, as well as the grand openings in the end of January going into February. So thank you again. This is the beginning. You'll be hearing a lot more about this, and we hope to see you in the office to get a checkup.
Geraldine and I will see you in Harlem tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, you're set.
All the way from Maysville, South Carolina, home.
Yeah, well, you're set with the Harlem Renaissance Hotel, so I think they're taking care of you. Okay,
Absolutely.
I told them you got a VIP coming in, so make sure that he's.
They did already. They called last night at midnight.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you both.
Okay, man.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Okay,
and I'll see you tomorrow.
You got it.
And again, this is groundbreaking. Soul City is so the value is hard to express, because it gives us a platform to talk about these types of things that you might not know about. But believe me, the Medpod technology, if you have a heart problem, if you have any type of issue, it's best to know and be preventive than to be reactive to it. So this is a good way to have the checkup. This is a good way, if you can't get to your doctor, to make sure your doctor can get to you. So this is Tony Rogers signing off for this special Urbanology show, and look forward to, hopefully, if you can go to the ReSurgence.org website, come out we'll be there on the 22nd and the 23rd. So come out, and we'll look forward to showing you a little bit more about the Medpod. Take care.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.